Legendary.
Mama bedu is final. We see baby baba now. I get wear designer. Everything way I give I'm final.
Hello, Mom. Hey, Carol, Mom.
Carol, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How's Dad?
Your dad is fine. Are you me? You have not sent me the money you promised.
I'm so sorry, Mama. I'm gonna do it today.
Send it now before you forget again.
Okay, no problems. I'll do it now. Check.
Are you sure?
Yes, so, and I also paid for your cable, and I'm sending you credit for this long call you're making right now.
Thank you, my son. God bless you.
All right, Mama. I love you so much. I'll speak to you later.
All of the girls go do anything for my love. All of the boys go do anything for the money. Then they dance to my music and they show me love. Girls wanna touch, wanna love, they want to love. Say I got one life, make I leave, I'm see
Next gen me, I represent. Save now, let that go make sense. Tell your best friend that your girlfriend. Don't be all the money you go and spend. Next gen me, I represent. Save now, let that go make sense. Tell your best friend that your girlfriend. Don't be all the money you go and spend.
We came to get the party started. If it's not united, why you banking? I got cash and it's never tarnished. Tryna water the grass just like my garden. Make it make sense, I get sense on sense. If I wanna go in, it depends on fresh. If I want to buy flats, I go flex my check. That one will be step by step. Step in and we move it. I text Leo, say Jai, it's okay. We the pioneers, we the ones who the don't wanna come near. Next gen kings, we the next best thing. Shout out to chairman.
Next gen me, I represent. Save now, let that go make sense. Tell your best friend that your girlfriend. Don't be all the money you go and spend. Next gen me, I represent. Save now, let that go make sense. Tell your best friend that your girlfriend. Don't be all the money you go and spend.
Let's get it. Day-to-day gang. Hotel Bank of Africa.
Life never stops. From landlords who want your head on a platter, to medical emergencies that creep up when you're not looking, life never stops. We know that bills for auto repairs could make you dizzy, and the cost of getting that MBA degree could very well cause the earth under you to tilt. But we don't believe life needs to stop for you to keep moving. We are one click away to hold your hand when the ground tilts. Dial *919 *28# today. Life never stops. Neither should you. Click Credit UBA.
Legendary.
My bedroom is final. We see baby Baba now. My girl wear designer. Everything where I give I'm final. Yeah.
Hello, Mom. Hey, Carol, Mom.
Karo Okomi, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How's Dad?
Your dad is fine. And you me? You have not sent me the money you promised.
I'm so sorry, Mama. I'm gonna do it today.
Send it now before you forget again.
Okay, no problems. I'll do it now. Check.
Are you sure?
Yes, so, and I also paid for your cable, and I'm sending you credit for this long call you're making right now.
Thank you, my son. God bless you.
All right, Mama. I love you so much. Yeah? I'll speak to you later.
They bit another tire. All of the girls go do anything for my love. All of the boys go do anything for the money. Then they dance to my music and they show me love. Girls wanna touch, wanna love, they want the love. Say I got one life, make I leave. I'm see I
Next gen me, I represent. Save now, let that go make sense. Tell your best friend, tell your girlfriend. Don't pay all the money you go and spend. Next gen me, I represent. Save now, let that go make sense. Tell your best friend, tell your girlfriend.
Yeah.
Don't pay all the money you go and spend.
We came to get the party started. If it's not united, why you banking? I got cash and it's never tarnished. Tryna water the grass just like my garden. Make it make sense, I get sense on sense. If I wanna go in, it depends on fresh. If I want to buy flats, I go flex my check. That one will be step by step. Step in and we move it. I text Leo, say Jai, it's okay. We the pioneers, we the ones who the don'ts wanna come near. Next gen kings, we the next best thing. Shout out to Chairman.
Next gen me, I represent. Save now, let that go make sense. Tell your best friend, tell your girlfriend. Don't pay all the money you go and spend. Next gen me, I represent. Save now, let that go make sense. Tell your best friend, tell your girlfriend. Don't pay all the money you go and spend.
DRP, let's get it. Native land gang. Hotel Bank of Africa.
Life never stops. From landlords who want your head on a platter, to medical emergencies that creep up when you're not looking, life never stops. We know that bills for auto repairs could make you dizzy, and the cost of getting that MBA degree could very well cause the earth under you to tilt. But we don't believe life needs to stop for you to keep moving. We are one click away to hold your hand when the ground tilts. Dial *919 *28# today. Life never stops. Neither should you. Click Credit UBA.
legendary.
For my bed is final. We see baby baba now. My girl wear designer. Everything where I give I'm final. Yeah.
Hello, Mom. Hey, Carol, Mom.
Carol, come here. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How's Dad?
Your dad is fine. Are you me? You have not sent me the money you promised.
I'm so sorry, Mama. I'm gonna do it today.
Send it now before you forget again.
Okay, no problems. I'll do it now. Check.
Are you sure?
Yes, so, and I also paid for your cable, and I'm sending you credit for this long call you're making right now.
Thank you, my son. God bless you.
All right, Mama. I love you so much. I'll speak to you later.
Baby, I know the tire. All of the girls go do anything for my love. All of the boys go do anything for the money. Then they dance to my music and they show me love. Girls wanna touch, wanna love, they want the love. Say I got one life, make I leave.
Next gen me, I represent. Save now, let that go make sense. Tell your best friend that your girlfriend. Don't be all the money you go and spend. Next gen me, I represent. Save now, let that go make sense. Tell your best friend that your girlfriend. Don't be all the money you go and spend.
We came to get the party started. If it's not united, why you banking? I got cash and it's never tarnished. Tryna water the grass just like my garden. Make it make sense, I get sense on sense. If I wanna go in, it depends on fresh. If I want to buy flats, I go flex my check. That one will be step by step. Step in and we move it. I text Leo, say Jai, it's okay. We the pioneers, we the ones who the don'ts wanna come near. Next gen kings, we the next best thing. Shout out to chairman.
Next gen me, I represent. Save now, let that go make sense. Tell your best friend that your girlfriend. Don't be all the money you go and spend. Next gen me, I represent. Save now, let that go make sense. Tell your best friend that your girlfriend. Don't be all the money you go and spend.
DRP, let's get it. Day-to-day gang. Hotel Bank of Africa.
Life never stops. From landlords who want your head on a platter, to medical emergencies that creep up when you're not looking, life never stops. We know that bills for auto repairs could make you dizzy, and the cost of getting that MBA degree could very well cause the earth under you to tilt. But we don't believe life needs to stop for you to keep moving. We are one click away to hold your hand when the ground tilts. Dial *919 *28# today. Life never stops. Neither should you. Click Credit UBA.
For my bed is final. We see baby baba now. My girl wear designer. Everything where I give I'm final. Yeah.
Hello, Mom. Hey, Carol, Mom.
Karo Komi, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How's Dad?
Your dad is fine. Are you me? You have not sent me the money you promised.
I'm so sorry, Mama. I'm gonna do it today.
Send it now before you forget again.
Okay, no problems. I'll do it now. Check.
Are you sure?
Yes, so, and I also paid for your cable, and I'm sending you credit for this long call you're making right now.
Thank you, my son. God bless you.
All right, Mama. I love you so much. Yeah? I'll speak to you later.
They beat another tire. All of the girls go do anything for my love. All of the boys go do anything for the money. Then they dance to my music and they show me love. Girls wanna touch, wanna love, they want the love. Say I got one life, make I leave, I'm see I
Next gen me, I represent. Save now, let that go make sense. Tell your best friend, tell your girlfriend. Don't be all the money you go and spend. Next gen me, I represent. Save now, let that go make sense. Tell your best friend, tell your girlfriend.
Yeah.
Don't be all the money you go and spend.
We came to get the party started. If it's not united, why you banking? I got cash and it's never tarnished. Tryna water the grass just like my garden. Make it make sense, I get sense on sense. If I wanna go in, it depends on fresh. If I want to buy flats, I go flex my check. That one will be step by step. Step in and we move it. I text Leo, say Jai, it's okay. We the pioneers, we the ones who the dons wanna come near. Next gen kings, we the next best thing. Shout out to chairman.
Next gen me, I represent. Save now, let that go make sense. Tell your best friend, tell your girlfriend. Don't be all the money you go and spend. Next gen me, I represent. Save now, let that go make sense. Tell your best friend, tell your girlfriend. Don't be all the money you go and spend.
DRP, let's get it. Native land gang. Hotel Bank of Africa.
Life never stops. From landlords who want your head on a platter, to medical emergencies that creep up when you're not looking, life never stops. We know that bills for auto repairs could make you dizzy, and the cost of getting that MBA degree could very well cause the earth under you to tilt. But we don't believe life needs to stop for you to keep moving. We are one click away to hold your hand when the ground tilts. Dial *919 *28# today. Life never stops. Neither should you. Click Credit UBA.
For my bed is final. We see baby baba now. My girl wear designer. Everything where I give I'm final. Yeah.
Hello, Mom. Hey, Carol, Mom.
Carol, come here. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How's Dad?
Your daddy is fine. And you, me, you have not sent me the money you promised.
I'm so sorry, Mama. I'm gonna do it today.
Send it now before you forget again.
Okay, no problems. I'll do it now. Check.
Are you sure?
Yes, so, and I also paid for your cable, and I'm sending you credit for this long call you're making right now.
Thank you, my son. God bless you.
All right, Mama. I love you so much. I'll speak to you later.
Baby, I know the tire. All of the girls go do anything for my love. All of the boys go do anything for the money. Then they dance to my music and they show me love. Girls wanna touch, wanna love, they want the love. Say I got one life, make I leave. I'm see I
Next gen me, I represent. Save now, let that go make sense. Tell your best friend that your girlfriend. Don't pay all the money you go and spend. Next gen me, I represent. Save now, let that go make sense. Tell your best friend that your girlfriend. Don't pay all the money you go and spend.
We came to get the party started. If it's not united, why you banking? I got cash and it's never tarnished. Tryna water the grass just like my garden. Make it make sense, I get sense on sense. If I wanna go in, it depends on fresh. If I want to buy flats, I go flex my check. That one will be step by step. Step in and we move it. I text Leo, say Jai, it's okay. We the pioneers, we the ones who the don't wanna come near. Next gen kings, we the next best thing. Shout out to Chairman.
Next gen me, I represent. Save now, let that go make sense. Tell your best friend.
Arise, O compatriot, Nigeria's call, obey to serve our fatherland with love and strength and faith. The labor of our heroes past shall never be in vain. To serve with heart and mind, one nation bound in freedom, peace and
Please, may you be seated? Distinguished shareholders, ladies and gentlemen, The time is now 10 a.m., and I'm pleased to welcome you all to the 59th Annual General Meeting of United Bank of Africa PLC. The Company Secretary has informed me that the quorum has been formed. You saw us caucusing. Therefore, I have great pleasure in declaring this meeting open. May I call on our Imam here, Dr. Farouk, to please pray for us.
We thank you, God, for what you have done to us as a bank. We have good leadership, we have good management, and we have dedicated board members. And we thank you for the dividend we are going to get after this meeting. We thank you for giving good health to our chairman, our directors and staff, and we thank you for the vaccine we are getting in this country that will help in reducing the COVID pandemic. And we also thank you for the economy that is improving, and we pray that we give good health to our president in the country, to our leaders, and we pray for you to help us for this economy to improve. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun ala al-mursaleen walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Amen.
Thank you, Dr. Farouk. Ladies and gentlemen, in line with the guidelines of the Corporate Affairs Commission, the 59th Annual General Meeting of your bank will be held by proxy, having obtained the Commission's approval. I wish to express our appreciation of the health workers who have been in the front line tackling the COVID pandemic, and the government of Nigeria for the constructive actions that have been taken so far here and in all other African countries. Okay, I know why it was brought very close. Let me also commend your bank, United Bank for Africa, and the CACOVID organization for all the support that UBA, through CACOVID and in some of the countries we operate in, not some, all, the level of support that has been given to host countries in fighting the pandemic. You all must be very proud of your bank. Your bank has spent over $14 million in supporting countries in the fight against COVID-19 pandemic. Ladies and gentlemen, we should all please endeavor to stay safe always. And shall come. We just need to persevere, inconvenience ourselves, make sacrifices to get to that point. Let me therefore introduce the directors of your bank to you. And because of this pandemic, we all are not sitting the way we usually sit. So if I call on directors, they kindly please stand so your shareholders will see you. To my right is your group managing director, Mr. Kennedy Uzoka. Our group managing director. And we have Ambassador Joe Keshi, ON, Vice Chair, our Vice Chair. Mrs. Onari Duke, NED. High Chief Samuel Oni, he's joining us, he's in the US. I know the travel difficulties these days, but he's joining us. I believe you all know him. It's Angela Aneke. I call him AJ Bello, others call him Abdulkadir Bello. Let me call him for Abdulkadir Jalil Bello. If I put AJ on my sister, he picks up the rest now. Dr. Kaide Fashola. Aisha Hassan Baba. Oliver Alauba. Ayoko Liade. Nobody has been called lion since. If there's one person, that's the lion here. Uchike. Okay. Chukuma Mweke. Ibrahim Puri. Hugo Ndubisi. And our very dear Erelu Adebayo. I would also like to introduce the group company secretary. I believe he's the most popular man here. Mr. Billy Odu. And finally, myself, Tony. We also have representatives of our regulators with us at the meeting. I will again urge our friends and regulators, please, when we call your name, kindly stand so members will recognize you. The representative of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Mr. Jamilu Bafa Jibril. Representative of the Securities and Exchange Commission, representative of the Nigerian Stock Exchange, Mr. Gostam Iwenekai. Representative of the Nigerian Deposit Insurance Corporation, Mr. Emeka Ndechukwu. Representative of the External Auditors, Ernst & Young, Mr. Anthony Oputa. I would like to introduce the registrars, Africa Prudential PLC, represented by ECO, Mr. Obong Udon. I would also like to introduce the chairman of the Audit Committee, Dr. Feyi Ogoji. I hear every family in Ondo State has a professor or at least a doctor. So when Feyi, in the previous life I used to know Feyi, I didn't see doctor, but he and Dr. Fashola have upgraded themselves. Congratulations. Finally, I would like to introduce the other shareholders' proxies present at this AGM, aside myself, the GMD, and the Group Company Secretary. Dr. Farouk Umar. Chief Timothy Adesina. Sir Sonny Mosu. Our dear Mrs. Adebisi Bakari. Mr. Nona Awo. And Alex Adio. Distinguished shareholders, we wish to have a full recording of the meeting. The meeting is also being streamed live to the public. Please indicate by show of hand to second a motion or ask a question, and you'll be recognized. Kindly state your name and endeavor to be brief when called upon. I will now call on our Company Secretary to read the notice of meeting. Company Secretary, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Good morning, shareholders and distinguished guests. Notice of Annual General Meeting. Notice is hereby given that the 59th Annual General Meeting of United Bank for Africa PLC will hold on Thursday, April 1, 2021 at UBA House, 57 Marina, Lagos by 10 a.m. to transact the following business. Ordinary business. 1. To receive the audited financial statements for the year ended December 31st, 2020, together with the reports of the directors, auditors, and the audit committee thereon. 2. To declare a final dividend. 3. To re-elect the following directors retiring by rotation: Ms. Angela Aneke, Mr. Abdul Kader Bello, Dr. Kayode Fashola. 4. To authorize the directors to fix the remuneration of the auditors for the 2021 financial year. 5. To disclose the remuneration of managers of the bank. 6. To elect members of the statutory audit committee. Notes. 1. Compliance with COVID-19 related directives and guidelines. The federal government of Nigeria, state governments, health authorities, and regulatory agencies have issued a number of guidelines and directives aimed at curbing the spread of COVID-19 in Nigeria. Particularly, the federal government prohibited the gathering of more than 50 people, while the Corporate Affairs Commission issued guidelines on holding AGM of public companies by proxy. The convening and conduct of the AGM shall be done in compliance with these directives and guidelines. 2. Proxy. A member entitled to vote and attend the annual general meeting is also entitled to appoint a proxy. For the appointment of the proxy to be valid, a proxy form must be completed, duly stamped by the Commissioner of Stamp Duties, and deposited either at the office of the bank's registrars, Africa Prudential PLC, 220B Ikorodu Road, Palm Grove, Lagos, Nigeria, or via email at cxc@africaprudential.com, not later than 48 hours before the fixed time of the meeting. 3. Attendance by proxy. In line with the CAC guidelines, attendance of the AGM shall be by proxy only. Shareholders are required to appoint a proxy of their choice from the list of nominated proxies below. 1. Mr. Tony O. Elumelu, CON. 2. Mr. Kennedy Uzoka. 3. Mr. Billy Odom. 4. Dr. Farouk Umar. 5. Chief Timothy Adesina. 6. Sir Sonny Omosu. 7. Mrs. Bisi Bakari. 8. Mr. Nona Awu. 9. Mr. Alex Adil. 4. Stamping of proxy. The company has made arrangements at its cost for the stamping of the duly completed and signed proxy forms submitted to the company's registrar within the stipulated time. 5. Live streaming of the AGM. The AGM will be streamed live online. This will enable shareholders and other stakeholders who will not be attending physically to follow the proceedings. The link for the AGM live streaming will be made available on the company's website at www.ubagroup.com. 6. Dividend payment. If the dividend recommended by the directors is approved, dividend will be posted electronically on Thursday, April 1, 2021, to all shareholders whose names are registered in the company's register of members as at the close of business on Friday, March 19, 2021, and who have completed the e-dividend registration and have mandated the registrars to pay dividend directly into their bank accounts. 7. Closure of register of members. The register of members will be closed from Monday, March 12, 22nd, 2021 to Friday, March 26, 2021 for the purpose of paying dividend and updating the register. 8. Profiles of directors for re-election. The profiles of Ms. Angela Aneke, Mr. Abdul Kader Bello, and Dr. Kayode Fashola, who will be retiring by rotation and seeking re-election, are provided in the annual report. 9. Questions from shareholders. Shareholders and other holders of the company's securities reserve the right to ask questions not only at the meeting, but also in writing prior to and after the meeting on any item contained in the annual report and accounts. Please send all questions to investorrelations@ubagroup.com. Unclaimed dividends, warrants, and share certificates. That's number 10. Shareholders are hereby informed that a number of share certificates and dividend warrants which were returned to the registrars as unclaimed are still in the custody of the registrars. A list of all unclaimed dividends will be circulated with the annual report and financial statements. Any shareholder affected by this notice is advised to contact the company's registrars, Africa Prudential Plc at 220B Ikorodu Road, Palm Grove, Lagos, or via email at cxc@africaprudential.com to lay claim. 11. Audit Committee. In accordance with Section 404, subsection 3 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020, the Audit Committee shall consist of 5 members, comprising of 3 shareholders and 2 non-executive directors. Section 404, subsection 6 of the Act also provides that any member may nominate a shareholder as a member of the Audit Committee by giving notice in writing of such nomination to the Company Secretary at least 21 days before the annual general meeting. The Financial Reporting Council's Nigerian Code of Corporate Governance provides that all members of the Audit Committee should be financially literate and be able to read and understand financial statements. Consequently, a detailed CV confirming the nominee's qualification should be submitted with each nomination. Dated this 8th day of March, 2021, by order of the board, Billy A. Odom, Group Company Secretary, 57 Marina, Lagos. Thank you, Chairman.
Well done. Distinguished shareholders, it is now time for me to read the Chairman's report to shareholders. Dear shareholders, thanks, but this is, since most of our shareholders are not here, it would be nice, and some of them don't have digital access, it would be nice to read it. Thanks. But for the records, let me please, let me read. It will take more than 2 minutes, not 3. Dear shareholders, it is my privilege to present to you, our esteemed shareholders, the financial reports of our group, the United Bank for Africa PLC, for the year 2020. As you are more than aware, this has been a challenging year. Challenging for business, for Africa, and the world, and in fact for all of us. May I begin by expressing our optimism and hope that you, your families, and loved ones have stayed safe. As you know, we have built an institution that's indeed built to last and to be resilient. I am very pleased to report that the business sustainability and diversification strategy that we conceived and are implementing has provided the firm anchor that enabled our group to thrive in the midst of the devastating business environment that arose from the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic. Our group ended the year with record profitability and significant market share gains across all our operating geographies, a demonstration of the high trust our customers and the stakeholders and other stakeholders have in the quality of our services, as well as the success of our management in implementing the strategy of our group. This strategy propels us at the board, working with the executive management to continue to set the bar for the highest standards of business success, corporate governance, and execution precision, to achieve unmatched customer satisfaction, deliver efficiencies, and ultimately enhance shareholder value. At the board, we remain committed to this mandate to ensure the continued success of our group in the midst of an ever-changing business environment, and also to continue be a role model for African businesses by showcasing the best of Africa to the world. 2020 was a year that tested the resilience of institutions and businesses globally. The pandemic that shook the world continues to have unprecedented socio-economic and humanitarian impact. It has triggered immense changes in how we live and work, permanently altered long-standing business models, and has caused unprecedented policy responses from global governments. Global economies continue to struggle with the necessary recessionary forces and human costs. Central banks have responded with measures to alleviate the impact with stimulus packages and lowered interest rates. Commend the Central Bank of Nigeria for its efforts in this area, and the governor of Central Bank in particular in Nigeria. However, due to the vast scale of the economic effects of the pandemic, the impact of these measures has been limited. According to the IMF, the global economy contracted by 3.5% in 2020 and by 4.9% in advanced economies. But thankfully, the approval of the COVID vaccination programs at the turn of the new year provides some hope. This is expected to lead to a rebound in economic growth. The IMF has forecasted 2021 a global GDP growth rate at 5.5% and at 4.2% in 2022. In sub-Saharan Africa, commodities markets and tourism suffer significantly, impacting exports and foreign exchange earnings. In response, most African governments and central banks adopted fiscal policies targeted at priority sectors to cushion the economic impact of the pandemic. However, a number of African currencies suffered currency depreciation, and domestic inflation figures experienced a steep rise. The two African economic giants, Nigeria and South Africa, recorded negative GDP growth rates of 3.2% and 7.7% respectively, according to IMF. Sub-Saharan Africa as a whole reported a negative 2.9 GDP growth rate in 2020. With the expected rebound in global economy, Sub-Saharan Africa is expected to benefit. Commodities markets are already experiencing what has been described as a super cycle of price rallies. For example, oil prices have gone from a low of $20 per barrel in 2020 to about $65 per barrel as at February 2021. The IMF forecasts that the sub-Saharan African economy will grow by about 3.2% in 2021 and 3.9% in 2022. At your board, we successfully navigated these global and regional trends, testing and strengthening our business continuity plans, and continually seeking to re-engineer our business operating model. Working with our executives, we spearheaded strategic investments in our digital banking and technology platforms to further promote self-service banking and focus on enhancing the capabilities of our people through online capacity development programs. We optimized our sales force for increased agility and market impact, refined our risk measurement models to better respond to changes in a volatile world, made adjustments to the working arrangements of staff in line with the new normal, and redefined our health and safety policies to ensure our customers and staff continue to stay safe. The results are higher levels of customer service delivery and improved operational efficiencies across the group. These are benefits we intend to retain long after the pandemic. Our group recorded impressive growth across key market share and profitability indices for the 2020 financial year. Customer deposits and total assets grew by approximately 48% and 37% to 5.7 trillion and 7.7 trillion naira respectively. The group's earning capacity has significantly improved as illustrated by gross earnings that grew by an impressive 10.8% to 620.4 billion naira. Overall, our group's profitability grew by 18.5% at this trying time. This is especially remarkable considering the challenges posed by the COVID-19 pandemic. The diversity of our income base, a critical foundation of our long-term strategy, remains very strong with our African operations, excluding Nigeria, contributing about 55% of the profit for the year 2020, illustrating that we are truly a Pan-African bank with a diversified earning base. I wish to assure you that we remain absolutely focused on risk management and the quality of our loan book, notwithstanding growth in the group's net loan portfolio by approximately 24%. The quality of the loan book further improved, as demonstrated by the reduction in the ratio of non-performing loans to total loans, NPL ratio, from 5.3% in 2019 to 4.7% in 2020. In Nigeria, the NPL ratio equally declined from 2.4% in 2019 to 2.2% in 2020. Despite the notable loan growth, the gross liquidity ratio at 44.3% and the capital adequacy ratio, these are critical banking ratios or indices. The capital adequacy ratio at 22.4% remained very, very, very strong and extremely robust. And you must be proud of your bank and your executive management for this. Distinguished shareholders, in the course of the year 2020, 4 directors retired from the board of our bank, 1 non-executive director and 3 executive directors. Mrs. Foluke Abrazak, after 12 years of meritorious service to the board of UBA Plc as a non-executive director, retired from the board on April 30, 2020. During the time she served on the board, she was the chairperson of the board credit committee and a member of the board governance committee. On the executive side, Mr. Victor Osadolo retired on January 6, 2020, after a distinguished 9 years of service on the board. Until his retirement, he was the group deputy managing director and the chief executive overseeing all the bank subsidiaries across Africa. Mr. Dan Okeke, the erstwhile executive director, Abuja and North Central Bank, Nigeria, retired from the board on August 1, 2020, after 9 years of excellent service on the board, holding a series of significant roles. Mr. Emeke Iwerebo was an executive director and deputy chief executive, overseeing all the bank subsidiaries across Africa. He retired from the board after an extraordinary 7-year service, including a pioneering contribution to our Pan-African expansion. tragically, still remain in grief following Emeke's untimely demise on August 29, 2020. May the Almighty God grant his soul eternal rest. And if we could observe a minute's silence, please. Gentle soul rest in the bosom of the Lord. Amen. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me to celebrate these great ambassadors and their enormous contributions to our group, and to wish them the very best in all their current and future endeavors. Looking forward, in 2021, economic recovery in sub-Saharan Africa will be driven largely by the pace of reopening of global economies and the attendant impact on the consumption of African commodities. It will also depend on how African governments, with support from development agencies, develop and implement domestic vaccination programs in order to curtail the spread of COVID-19. Again, let me recognize and commend Nigerian government, the CACOVID, and institutions like United Bank for Africa for what has been done in working together to accelerate this program. It is expected that trade and financial flows to Africa will gradually recover to 2019 levels within the year, and infrastructure development projects will soon resume across the continent. The work we have done in strengthening our governance structures group-wide, and in improving our business and operating models in 2020 positions our bank to benefit from these recovery trends and to achieve significant market share gains across our operations. I am very optimistic for 2020 and have no doubt we are on the right path to industry leadership, that we have a vision for Africa, for UBA, in Nigeria, in Africa, and globally. UBA is the only Pan-African bank with offices in New York, London, and Paris, complementing our 20 African country presence that can truly claim to be Africa's global bank. We are uniquely positioned to benefit and ensure our customers benefit from the opportunities presented by renewed economic growth. Equally, the investments in people and technology that we have patiently and strategically made are ensuring we both maximize our potential and optimize our business model. On behalf of the board of UBA PLC, I would like to thank our esteemed customers for their continued patronage and the unwavering trust and confidence that you have in our group, as demonstrated even during the pandemic. It is always our joy and duty to exceed your expectations as we remain committed to putting you first in all that we do. I especially commend our staff who have worked relentlessly despite the pandemic to ensure our customers continue to receive the best banking services possible. The results we celebrate today are due to their critical contributions to UBA. I also want to specifically applaud our executive management for the excellent and innovative leadership they provided during the pandemic and the sacrifice they all made. This is the first time the group managing director of UBA and I are seeing each other since 18th of March last year. First time. In spite of this, he and his team, in fact, they worked almost every day. Coming to this building, I want to say Mr. Kennedy Uzoka. Very well done on behalf of the board. And as we know, CEO does not operate in isolation. For the CEO to be strong, standing, able to do all of this, he has all the support from the rest of you, great staff. So I want to say thank you. This is one of the reasons I decided to read my statement. I want to say thank you to all of us, as we thank our customers, for all of you, as we thank our customers who stood firmly by us. A mixture, our executive and staff mixture of innovation and tenacity in adversity is totally unmatched. Totally unmatched. In fact, the executives even taking the risk to travel and transverse across Africa. We remain extremely grateful for this. To the board of directors, I consider it a rare privilege to serve with such a vastly experienced, committed, and highly impactful board. I want to thank you for the vision you have helped to create for our group and for your tireless service in this implementation. Up until 2 a.m. this morning, I received mails from AJ Bello, a non-executive director. It's unsurpassed. This morning, I woke up, I got mails from him. This is what we see from the UBA board members. You indeed have very capable and dedicated board members. Lastly, and most importantly, to you, our shareholders, and the wider UBA stakeholders, I want to say thank you on behalf of the board for the opportunity to serve as the custodians of your trust, for your continued support of our group, and for your commitment to our collective vision of UBA, truly being Africa's global bank. Thank you very much. So, we will now sorry, please. Okay. So I will now ask a representative of our auditors, Ernst & Young, to present the auditor's report, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The auditor's report is on pages 72 to 75 of the reports that each member has here. Mr. Chairman, members of the shareholders, do I read the entire report at your discretion?
No.
Okay, so I'll just focus on the opinion, the first two, the opinion and the basis, and conclude. The report of the independent auditors, Ernst & Young, to the shareholders of United Bank for Africa, PLC. Report on the audit of the consolidated and separate financial statements. Opinion. We have audited the consolidated and separate financial statements of United Bank for Africa, PLC, the bank, and its subsidiaries. Together, the group. And the bank set out on pages 76 to 219 of this report, which comprise the consolidated and separate financial statements of financial position as at 31st December 2020, and the consolidated and separate statements of comprehensive income, the consolidated and separate statement of changes in equity, and the consolidated and separate statements of cash flows for the year then ended, and notes to the consolidated and separate financial statements, including a summary of significant accounting policies. In our opinion, the consolidated and separate financial statements give a true and fair view of the consolidated and separate financial position of the group and the bank as at 31st December 2020, and the consolidated and separate financial performance and consolidated and separate cash flows for the year then ended in accordance with international financial reporting standards and the relevant provisions of the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020, the Banks and Other Financial Institutions Act 2020, number 6, 2020, and the Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria Act number 6, 2011, as well as the Central Bank of Nigeria circulars. Basis for opinion. We conducted our audit in accordance with the international standards on auditing. Our responsibilities under those standards are further described in the auditor's responsibilities for the audit of the consolidated and separate financial statements. This is a separate section in this report. We are independent of the group and the bank in accordance with the International Ethics Standards Board for Accountants Code of Ethics for Professional Accountants, that is the IESBA code, and other independent requirements that are applicable to performing the audit of the group and the bank, who have fulfilled our other ethical responsibilities in accordance with the IESBA's code and in accordance with other ethical requirements applicable to performing the audit of the group and the bank. We believe that the audit evidence we have obtained is sufficient and appropriate to provide a basis for the opinion which I have just read. Dated 12th February 2021, signed Anthony Oputa for Ernst & Young, and my FRC number is listed there, which gives me the power to sign this report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Anthony. I will now ask the chairman of the audit committee to present the audit committee's report on behalf of the committee. Dr. Ogoji, please.
It's on.
Mr. Chairman, distinguished shareholders, this is the report of the Statutory Audit Committee to members of United Bank for Africa PLC. I'm on page 66, please. In accordance with the provision of Section 404, subsection 7 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act of the Federation of Nigeria 2020, we, the members of the Audit Committee, hereby report as follows. 1, we confirm that we have seen the audit plan and scope and the management letter on the audit of the group and UBA Group consolidated and separate financial statements for the year ended December 31, 2020, and the responses to the said letter. In our opinion, the plan and scope of the audit for the year ended 31st December 2020 were adequate, and we have reviewed the auditor's findings, and we are satisfied with the management responses thereon. 3, we also confirm that the accounting and reporting policies of the bank are in accordance with the legal requirements and ethical practices as required by the provisions of the Central Bank of Nigeria Circular BSD/1/2004, dated February 18, 2004, on disclosure of insider-related credits in financial statements. We reviewed the insider-related credits of the bank and found them to be as analyzed in the group consolidated and separate financial statement for the year ended December 31, 2020. Signed, Feyi Ogoji. Dated
Dr. Feyi Ogoji.
Dated 26th January 2021 as the chairman, Statutory Audit Committee. The Audit Committee members are Mr. Matthew Esonajo, shareholder, sorry. Alhaji Al-Kazim Umar, shareholder. Ms. Angela Aneke, non-executive director. Mrs. Honorary Duke, independent non-executive director. Dr. Kayode Fashola, non-executive director. And my humble self, Feyi Ogoji. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Distinguished shareholders, may I request for the board, for the performance evaluation report of the board, that you kindly refer to page 68 of the annual report for the report by Deloitte, independent consultants. For the corporate governance report, may I also request that you kindly refer to page 69 of the annual report on the report of Deloitte, the independent consultants, on the review of corporate governance framework of United Bank for Africa, PLC. Distinguished shareholders, pursuant to Section 248 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020, I hereby direct that a poll be taken on all resolutions for consideration at this meeting, except the resolution for the election of members of the statutory audit committee, which shall be by show of hands. Since this is an AGM by proxy, and the votes on all the proxy forms duly submitted have been collated by the registrars, I would ask the registrars to share the voting results on the resolutions upon their introduction for consideration. Also, since all resolutions being considered are ordinary resolutions, 51% or a simple majority of the total votes from the proxies received will be required to pass the resolutions. Directors' reports and accounts. The next item is to receive the director's report and the balance sheet as at December 31, 2020, together with the profit and loss account for the year ended on that date. I hereby move that the director's report and the balance sheet as at December 31, 2020, together with the profit and loss account for the year ended on that day, submitted to the meeting, be received and adopted. Will someone please second this motion? Yes.
It's on.
It's on. Thank you. You now have an opportunity, members, to ask questions relating to this motion. In doing so, it will help to ensure that we give the right answer. If you could refer to the page of the report and accounts to which your question relates. Are there any questions before the motion is put to the meeting, please? Okay, we'll take it. Sir Sonimosu.
Thank you.
I can't see the face. Yeah, this is Adio. 2. Adio 2. This is 3. Dr. Farouk 4. None. Okay, 5. And then Nona 6. Is it complete? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4. Let Dr. Farouk speak last. 4, 5, Dr. Farouk 6. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm very happy representing shareholders at this very important AGM that is holding in the premises of our great company. Mr. Chairman, I would like to start. First, my name is Sir Sonny Nwosu, KSS, National Coordinator Emeritus, Independent Shareholders Association of Nigeria. I'd like to start by congratulating you on your birthday, which just passed, and I think if not for COVID, today would have been the height of severity. However, the significance of this meeting today is that in the calendar of Catholic Church, today is a holy Thursday. Usually, April is used as April Fool, but today, there is no fool in this. It's a reality of the day, and more so that we are going to get a dividend today. So it makes it a very unique one. I join you in commending the management, and now I can understand why you choose to read your chairman's report. There are certain things you want to emphasize there to us, especially on the effort of the management and the board. Mr. Chairman, on behalf of shareholders too, I'd like to toe that line to appreciate them for working. Kennedy has made a lot of public pronunciation on the vexable area of report, which is low dividend. He has engaged the newspapers everywhere, knowing fully well that shareholders will likely kick against that. He has preempted some of us. And as a result of that, I'm not going to say much about the less dividend you paid, but to hope that the interim dividend will make up for the final dividend and the past interim dividend. Based on the promises you have made to shareholders, that you are very optimistic, the year under consideration will be a fulfilled one and a better one. I pray so too, because in this account, there are a lot of increases that we would have asked why if we are getting less. But I think that's also a pointer that to whom much is given, much is expected. Mr. Chairman, going through this annual report, actually, I also want to abridge what I'm going to say because we've already sent a review of about 4 or 5 pages to the company. And it's not in our practice to repeat what we have sent confidentially to the bank. But I pick up few things which will be very, very important to all of us here. One of those things is the cash restriction. Cash restriction on page 106, and it's also repeated on page 164 of the annual report. The cash restriction of over 1 trillion naira, over 1 trillion naira, I believe will hurt the bank. If you are restricting 1 trillion naira from the cash available to the bank for the usage to produce dividend and other things, it will hurt the bank. And apart from that, there have been a lot of mop-up during the year, and I'm happy Central Bank is here. They cannot be preaching one thing and in action, they'll be restricting those that they are preaching to empower industrialization of this country. Everybody will not be in agriculture to produce rice and all this and that and wheat. And therefore, Central Bank should have a rethink about the cash restriction and also the mopping up of funds from the market. It's very important now again that Ministry of Finance is actually bouncing on claim dividend, bouncing on what we call dormant accounts. From a study, shows that the dormant account in this country is about 25 trillion naira. And that those that they want to, which will be fresh, which they will bounce on, will be about 1 trillion naira. I mean, this money itself, of what significance is going to be to the Ministry of Finance, who do not have respect for people's money. We are all aware that we cannot trust government in holding people's money. So why don't you leave it in the bank where it will be useful to the growth of other industries by loans and other things? Mr. Chairman, I do not know what, I think this concerns Kennedy. I don't know what happens in the Bankers Committee. Bankers Committee should be able to put this straight. Those of us with the little strength we have, we had to go to the Senate to start talking to them, especially on claim dividend. Unclaimed dividend is a dividend itself and business is a contract between individuals. It doesn't require government intervention once the enabling environment is there. All that is required is that they play according to the regulations. They cited jurisdictions, and unfortunately for them, all the jurisdictions they cited did not really match what they intend to do. In Britain, £4 billion is circulating there as unclaimed dividend, but they were not attempted to tamper with it. But in Nigeria, we have borrowed here and there. And I think what is left is for us to go and make the beggars, to borrow from the beggars. So it is very, very important that we must allow them to really understand these things, that we are not happy. Mr. Chairman, I want to bring your attention to some of the items on CAMA 2020. One of it is that there shouldn't be a capital base. It has to be a call-up shares. And in our account on page, anyway, in our account here is showing that we have a capital base of 400 plus billion shares. That's what it says. And the call-up is 32 point something billion shares. Now, we need to know how you intend to clear up the remaining. And I want to advise that the best way is to issue bonus to shareholders.
I believe we have accountants in the room here. If we're hearing that is a call of share capital and capital
Yes,
base.
that is the dictate of the new CAMA 2020.
What did CAMA say?
CAMA is saying that there shouldn't be a capital base, that it should be all the shares information must be taken up. And I'm sure the company secretary is aware of this. So that helps us to call for a bonus anyway. Mr. Chairman, on page 158, I want to appreciate all the managing directors of all the subsidiaries here because they have performed. They have performed. Only 2 of the subsidiaries that failed to meet their target. But then, on page 158, there's something called elimination. Something called elimination, which reduces the profit. Now, for some of us, we may know what is elimination, but for those who are watching us from the electronic system may not understand it, larger shareholders. So I would like either the chairman or the managing director to tell us what is the elimination that removed about 10 billion naira from the account. It's very important for us to know that. Mr. Chairman, under admin expenses, I saw something like loan recovery expenses, which is about 2 billion plus. And I also saw something as bank charges. So I wonder, what kind of bank charges are we paying? We're a bank. People pay bank charges to us. How are we paying bank charges? There is need for us to understand. And I pick my issue on subsidiary from page 177 to 180. That is where the segmental reporting of the subsidiaries is stated. Mr. Chairman, as I said, that we have already submitted our position to the bank, but I also want us to look at 15 billion naira unclaimed dividend. If we look at the table there, the table is on page 223. Put all together, it's about 15 billion naira unclaimed dividend. What are we doing to support the company secretary's office and the registrars to eliminate major part of the unclaimed dividend? Mr. Chairman, in my presentation at the Senate, we also recognize the fact that central bank is causing some of the delays in moving unclaimed dividend. For the foreign partners whose dividend is huge, without a forex backing, they cannot move their dividend. And therefore, central bank will be instrumental to helping the unclaimed dividend figure to come down if they are able to release foreign exchange backing to these people. But the danger of all this, Mr. Chairman, is that even they, the foreigners, have now adopted a system which is detrimental to Nigerian shareholders. The system they have adopted is either they bring in scrip bonus, which means that their dividend will be used to buy their own shares. Any amount that they declare will be converted to shares. The other thing is that they are now using part of the unclaimed dividend which they were unable to transfer to buy their shares, reducing the number of shares being held by Nigerians. At the end of the day, the danger of it is that Nigerians will continue to go down as minority shareholders, and suddenly they may take up to buy over the bank. We will be losing. We will be losing, they will be gaining.
All
Mr.
right.
Chairman, I want to thank you,
sir.
again for this occasion of our 59th AGM, and thank you for choosing me as one of the prizes. God bless all of us, and once again, happy birthday to you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Alex, please. Mr.
Thank
Alex.
you, Mr. Chairman. IDO A. Alex is the name of Dynamic Shareholders, but I'm representing other shareholders here this morning. Mr. Chairman, the board members, regulators, shareholders here seated, and those that are hooking with us online. It is a great privilege for me to stand in here this morning on behalf of other shareholders. I want to start my brief comment from page 7. And this is just for emphasis, Mr. Chairman, because majority of the people out there, they just look at the surface, they will not dig deep to know what makes us so strong. And permit me to show this as you have printed in this document that I'm holding, page number 7. And this, the word or the statement, who we are, to me is very, very loaded. And permit me to paint the picture as embedded herein. 25 million total customer, 25 million plus, fantastic. And 1,000 plus branches and touch points, 20,000 plus employees, digital banking customers, over 20 million, 3 operations outside Africa, and the only leading Pan-African bank with offices in New York, London, and Paris. Mr. Chairman, to me, this is loaded. And this is one of the bases that we look at in those days, if it's still working, when you want to put your investment somewhere. I go to page number 8, and I'm going to capture that with 27 and 33. But I will start from page number 8, which is more or less like the one earlier stated. I still want people to see what makes us solid. And number 1, the return on equity, which is 17.2% growth, fantastic. Number 2, I look at the cost to income, which is 61.3%, which is equally good, Mr. Chairman. And I look at profit after tax, and that is why we are going on with dividend after this meeting. The total asset has grown to 7.69 billion. All these being added together product that makes banking easily accessible everywhere, anywhere, anytime is from UBA. I look at 27 now. Page 2733 has to do with the chairman's statement, which you have taken your time to read and is loaded. And 33, that is of the group CEO. And I saw something there on page 32. Page 32, that's where strong execution in 2020, that is the heading. I'm looking at a particular line there, Mr. Chairman, line 3, paragraph, the last paragraph, it should be on line 3 now. And I read, we have the capacity to absorb the impact of an uncertain environment. This is loaded. I thought somebody would give them a round of applause. If you have that capacity, then we can put in everything and go and rest in a situation to absorb the impact of an uncertain environment. That is fantastic. That makes us a Pan-African bank indeed. Mr. Chairman, that's not an overstatement, and I run it to page number 42, 51, and 59. That 42, 51, 59, that has to do with the corporate governance and the CSR. I see the human resources, the investment that we are putting there, the high city, the investment we are putting there, strict adherence to corporate governance, as stated as evidence in the preparation of this account. And I say to somebody, this account is too detailed to be faulted. If you are looking at one area, the note is somewhere else. If you think it's going this way, it's somewhere else, and everything is clean and clear. And the board attenders as well is equally good. Page 42 precisely has to do with UBA Foundation, the empowerment program, over 500 million for CACOFIT. Page 51, the donation that has to do with the group, which is about 5.1 billion. You are touching live. So this UBA, our bank, is great indeed. I want to give advice, Mr. Chairman, and my advice is on page 73, that runs to page 110. It has to do with the key audit matters and a significant increase in credit risks. Yes, you have explained better, and it's clean, it's clear, but you know this is like the heart of our business. So we must always look at it critically and very, very well. Your risk management analysis, credit concentration is very, very robust, but don't go to sleep. I repeat, don't ever go to sleep, because we equally have commitment somewhere else. That leads me to note 12 and page 80, which is about that, write-off of loans and advances. You know that is the effect of what I've just mentioned. And like Sir Sonny Woshu mentioned, I saw 232 loan recovery expenses. I hope that when we put in such many, the return is better, so that good money will not be chasing bad ones. Page 204, note 42, related party transactions, clearly stated, and I give you kudos on that. I want to round up on page, Sasoni Woshu has actually made mention of that, the unclaimed dividends and the Nigeria government. God helping us. Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'm bringing this one in as an advice, and it has to do with the security system in Nigeria. But I'm looking at the angle of the banks or financial institutions' exposure to attack. This is very, very bad. And I want to suggest that our bank should find a way to put apparatus in place, so that when it comes to security of our staff and our investment, they will say UBA is number one. I know you can do it. Find a way to do it better. I want to thank all the new board members that are coming on board, the directors and those that are taking their leave. Once again, I say happy birthday, belated, and happy new month. Thank you for this privilege. God bless you.
Thank you very much. Chief Timothy. Oh, okay, Ms. Bakari.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Once again, my name is Mrs. Bisi Bakari. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Board of Directors, regulatory authorities here present this morning, my co-shareholders, and executive management of UBA. Good morning. Mr. Chairman, for me, I don't have much to say. The reason being that the board you are seeing here today, they have an open door policy. I want to talk about our GMD. Our GMD is a kind of person that when you call him, if he's in a meeting, he will text you back. And definitely after his meeting, he's going to call back. So I really commend you for that, Mr. Kennedy. That gives me opportunity before this meeting. I've called him. Some of the questions I have here, I've already asked him, and he has already given responses to some of the questions. So I'm not going to waste much of your time.
Thank you.
Secondly, my colleagues will agree with me. I think UBA is different in everything. This is the first time, of course, since the beginning of this year, I have opportunity to attend more than 10 AGMs, PROSI AGM, more than 10. This is the first meeting that both Board of Directors, Chairman, we use the same nose mark with shareholders and other attendees. This is the first time. Either you see Chairman with blue and all the directors, and they will just give us one blue, white or red or whatever. I really commend the board for this. Page 64. Page 64. That is statutory audit committee meetings. I don't know why our statutory audit committee met just 3 times during the year under review. I think normally they're supposed to meet quarterly, each quarter. So they're supposed to have at least minimum of 4. It could be more than 4, but at least 4 meetings, minimum of 4 meetings. And I also observe that on page 61, that our board audit committee met 7 times. This is very abnormal. I want the board to look at it. Page 162.
They didn't meet enough, and the other they met.
Yes, sir. So I want the board to look at it. Page 162.
Okay.
Note 19. Page 162, note 19, other operating expenses. Mr. Chairman, I think we need to watch some of our operating expenses, especially our auditor's remuneration, loan recovery expenses, and loss on disposal of property and equipment. Please look at it. Lastly, page 194. Oh, sorry, some also have talked about that is on unclaimed dividend. But despite that, I think we need to look at our unclaimed dividend also. If you look at note 36, other liabilities here, for 2019, our unclaimed dividend was 5.9 billion. But during the year under consideration, it has moved to 7.6 billion. So I want the board to look at this. The continuous rise is a source of worry, sir. So, and I want to ask the board to really look at it in future. Thank you once again for the opportunity given to me.
You're welcome. Okay. Chief Timothy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman of Africa Global Bank, UBA.
So, yeah.
I thank the board, staff, and management for giving me the opportunity to be a proxy of this bank. My name is Chief Timothy Adesina, the immediate past president of Nigerian Shareholder Solidarity Association, which was formed by late Asiwaju Akintode Asalu of blessed memory. I appreciate the efforts towards sustaining this bank. And I would like to refer you to page 30 to page 58. To page 58 of this annual report, which is on corporate governance. United Bank for Africa PLC, UBA, holds good corporate governance as one of its core values and commits its commitment to the implementation of effective corporate governance principles in the business operations. The bank stands and holds one of its core principles on corporate governance. At the time when this corporate governance started by Sebastian Oxley of the United States, which was later again preached by which was again proved by Professor King of South Africa. People thought these people were just joking. But now that people are using this corporate governance as good principles of governance, we are seeing good and positive results. UBA uses this as a guiding principle, and they obey it in accordance with the CBN guidelines as well. CBN, SEC, and Financial Reporting Council of Nigerian guidance on corporate governance. And we are seeing the growth of the bank. This bank is growing at a rate which one believes, and we see the bank is growing very fast, both in Nigeria, 20 African countries, in America, and other countries. We are happy with the growth of this bank. And we are also happy with the kind of training which this bank is giving to the staff, and also the succession plan of the bank. The succession plan of the bank makes it possible that without the group managing director seeing the chairman for, face-to-face and physically for almost a year, the bank is still running very well and profitably. Please give this bank a hand of applause. I appreciate the assistance which the bank is giving its customers in the area of advice. UBA is the only bank that gives customers advice that you should not reveal your BVN to anybody. They send it by text to you always and regularly, so that immediately you see it, somebody asking you for your BVN or some details about your account, you will know that is a fraudster. And our Leo is always there 24/7 for you. If you have any problem, just dial to Leo and you will see a response immediately. I appreciate these few days that the bank, that the government wants to take over all our unclaimed dividends. You will see that you are receiving a lot at times you don't expect. Some funds just coming into your account. Where were this money hiding before? They are now releasing them, and we are happy to receive this, and the proactiveness of the registrars is highly appreciated. I will also like to appreciate the method and the management of our credit risk exposure. Our credit risk exposure is very standard, and all the risks that we are facing have been covered, have been backed up by what if the people who take the loans from us don't pay, their collaterals are there to do for it. Unlike some other banks who will take the collaterals and will not perfect them. UBA perfects its collaterals such that when you take loan from UBA, you have to run and be very active without you utilize the loan so that you don't lose the collateral you put in. I will also thank the company for the impressive growth across key markets, which makes it possible for us to grow our total assets by 48% and 37% respectively in year 2020. I will also, at this time, thank the bank for its sustainability report. UBA, Africa's global bank, commits 1% of the group total profit for the year to the growth and the sustenance of our economy, and we are happy with this also. The bank, we appreciate, and the growth plan of the bank for the staff in the area of training, we also appreciate. Thank you. God bless you all.
Thank you, sir. So the remaining speakers, I will appreciate if you can make it. Our past speakers have taken a lot of time. Please, you can be more straight to the point. Nona, please.
The Chairman, other members of the board, very distinguished fellow shareholders, my name is Nona Au. First, I recognize the fact that the bank has almost 274,000 shareholders. So for me to be here, he also puts additional responsibility on me while appreciating the fact that I'm also here. But having said that, Mr. Chairman, I also want to confirm that I did fully follow the conference call. So for some persons who will be wondering, now that the chairman has asked Nona to ask very few questions.
Nona is irrepressible.
But talking to the business, which is for me much more important. When I got this account on Tuesday, unfortunately, the first page I opened happens to be page 55. Because I was in the studio, because we run a TV program, and the floodlight was so much. What I read on page 55 was the hotness in the business offices. That's what I read. Until much later, I realized that the hotness had to do with what was on page 62. Because if you look at page 62, the corporate governance table, you'll find that Alhaji Bello understands what the hotness is all about. Because if he sits on the committee, that it turned out to be the only man, he didn't have any choice but to escape by mid-year. So Alhaji, congratulations.
Oh my God. You've known her.
Present, sir. Page 59. I think the notes in terms of dates of appointment and resignation, the second two there should read 3 and not 2. Otherwise, you will look for the 3 and you will never find it. Also on page 107, the December on that page, you read December 2020 on that page. The December 2019 on that page, you read 2020. And if you go to page 208, I also think that there's some mix-up in the staff number. And I want us to, for the future, especially since they're on the same page, it's easy for people to point out, to find out that they were mixed up. I'm still talking about areas needing improvement in the presentation. On page 43, the essay competition. If you have the schools, I think it's also important that even within Nigeria, that you should state the name of the towns that the schools are in. So again, it gives you a better reading of what the account is all about.
Thank you.
Having said that, and also haven't heard the story that you painted about what our subsidiaries are doing, especially in Africa, I want to ask, my understanding of what you have presented and what is in this account is that we're basically halfway. If we are UBA, and the A stands for Africa, and we are only in 20 countries, it means that we are UBA half Africa for now. So the question I'll be asking, what is the plan going forward? We're talking about the segmental presentation or geographical presentation. Like I said, I heard the MD talk extensively, both on and off the conference, as to what happened for the drop in revenue, 31 billion, drop in profit, that is talking about Nigeria, 6.2. But looking at the African subsidiaries, I want to say that it's also important to know that Gabon moved from negative to positive. And interestingly, 10 countries also recorded higher profits, with Uganda standing outstandingly ahead of everybody else. And interestingly, if you are in doubt as to the hotness that I talked about, if you look at the representative of Uganda, there are 2 women, chairperson, MD. So the hotness also is in Uganda. Now, because Uganda did almost a 210% rise in profits. Yes, I know some persons say they are small countries, but if other smaller countries also do the same, the chances are what we'll be talking about in terms of return will be higher. So let's get to encourage Benin, that also did 175 to do better next year. Tanzania with a 156 jump to do better next year. And Liberia with the list of 22.7 to also do better next year. But what is also important for me is the fact that even Guinea, and in particular Congo Democratic Republic, have also moved from being negative to being positive in terms of profit. What is happening in Mozambique? Yes, I know that Mozambique has had floods, but before the flood came, Mozambique profit went down by 47%. So I'll be asking, what is wrong in Mozambique? Kenya went down by 50%. Yes, I can understand Ghana, only 6% drop. But Chad also went down by 21%. So what is it that we're doing to the African countries where the profit is still a challenge? Please note that I also factor in the currency devaluation in some of those countries. That's why I'm asking the question. Because if you have a football team of 12, and one of them happens to be Messi, he scores very many goals, and the other one is a goalkeeper and it's a basket, the chances is at the end of the match, you probably will be struggling to get a draw. So if you're going to be African player, it's important that this is factored in. I also didn't want to talk.
Very good point.
I didn't want to talk about the unclaimed dividend thing, but now that it's also come on the table, it's important that since we have investor relation officers, we have company secretary, and we have the registrar, it's important that the three, the tripod, should work and see how they can drop the issue of unclaimed dividend. That for me should be an assessment issue. Because if these monies were not there, nobody will be interested in small monies. But when the monies are big, there will be big party to celebrate thereafter. So they will be interested. So let's also do our own part of it to make sure that these things also get on the downside. But Company Secretary, on the notice of the meeting, what I read there is final dividend. I think we should remove final and just leave dividend. Because if you say final, it means that you're also not asking for approval of the interim that you have paid. Okay? I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know anything, because I know lawyers are learned, but I'm looking at it from a layman position. So let's have dividend and not final dividend. And for the issue of share capital, again, I think that part of the challenge of the capital market is that very many times a number of people who play in the capital market don't even understand the rules and how the capital market works. So we don't necessarily have to go the route of a bonus. We can also go the route of a share cancellation. Because if they are unallotted, because if it was a right issue that you had and you wanted to raise 100 billion shares and what you got was 80, the other 20 will be cancelled. So they won't exist. Because if we go the route of a bonus, I'm not saying bonus is bad, get me right, but if we go the route of a bonus, this bank currently has a velocity of 20+% in terms of trading. You are going to put additional pressure. So what our emphasis should be, and hence I started with what these African countries are doing, is let's make sure that we continue to support and also push management to constantly improve the bottom line. And once the bottom line gets up, the earnings will go up, and what you also be able to pay will be better. But with dilution, you are never going to be too sure. So I want to thank you for the opportunity to be at this meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And last but not the least, Dr. Farouk.
Mr. Chairman, let me begin by drawing the attention of shareholders what is unique about our bank. You have said it in your statement, and my colleagues who have spoken before me have spoken about the African expansion. The African countries have brought 75 billion naira PBT to our business. And what this is showing us is whatever regulations we are having from CBN, AMCON, and so on, UBA will survive the business. And that's why I'm encouraging shareholders to keep their shares of UBA. I remember, Mr. Chairman, 2 years ago, the head of the African business told us that we should go and buy UBA shares because he believed in 3 to 5 years to come, we will be millionaires. And Mr. Chairman, when he spoke, UBA came down at one time to about 5 naira. We bought. And UBA, about 2 months ago, UBA went over 9 naira.
Correct.
Now, this is even, despite the COVID pandemic we have gone through, I am confident that with time, Mr. Nona, even the countries that we are not making profit, I believe we will make profit. When you start a business, sometimes it is not easy to make profit immediately. But I believe if you look at the awards that were given, even Chad and Liberia, Sierra Leone, we have 5 or 6 countries that got the award from an institution that is under the report was by Financial Times. So, Mr. Chairman, I think you should encourage our management to ensure that you strengthen the African business. You are leading. No any other bank in this country has branches, branches in 20 countries in Africa. Not to talk of our offices in the 3 non-African countries. We are in New York, we are in London and Paris. Mr. Chairman, my colleagues have spoken about the performance. So, Alex Adeo has taken us through page 8, but I still want to draw our attention to the deposit we are having. UBA is having 5.676 trillion naira as deposit. Our MPL, also, Mr. Chairman, is commendable.
Very.
If you look at in Nigeria, just a little over 2%, with the number of branches we are having, Mr. Chairman, we must commend you. This is a big achievement. Also, Mr. Chairman, you have spoken in your statement on the liquidity ratio. 44.3%. Unbelievable. Mr. Chairman, liquidity is what will show us that a bank is solid and UBA is solid. Mr. Chairman, I want to also talk about the corporate governance. Chairman, FRC recently came out with new corporate governance regulations. If you take SEC, CBN, BOFIA, and FRC, now each quoted company is required to have the maximum is 3 independent directors. And the EPA already has 3 independent directors, which shows we are ahead of the regulators. Mr. Chairman, this is very commendable.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I also want to commend you on the female representation on the board. Of all the banks we are having in this country, it's only UBA that has 25% of the non-executive directors as females on the board. Mr. Chairman, we are grateful because we love our mothers, we love our wives, and when we see a company strengthening this gender position, we are happy. Mr. Chairman, I would like you to again go ahead of other institutions. I would like to see one day half of the executive directors, non-executive directors to be females on the board. Mr. Chairman, I'd like also next year to see a section in this account on succession planning. You have done very well. A vice chairman, we have deputy CEO. It's very commendable. But for the other staff, Mr. Chairman, we don't want to be like other companies that will wait until somebody retires or somebody passes on, then they start struggling to get a successor. I hope and pray you will do this. My colleagues, Mr. Chairman, have spoken about unclaimed dividend. Mr. Chairman, why I don't want government to take our money? It's not their money. But Mr. Chairman, we have to blame some of the registrars. We have to be, realistic. If they had done their part, we wouldn't have the unclaimed dividend we're having. So, Mr. Chairman, in this regard, I want to commend APR because I know our association on several occasions.
That's Africa
with
Prudential.
African Prudential Registrars. We have called them and instantly, without even saying that somebody has to fill the e-dividend, they paid them their dividend and then they said that you will not get your next dividend until you comply. This was being proactive. And if you see the unclaimed dividend with APR, it's one of the lowest among the registrars. Mr. Chairman, we should clap for them. Finally, Mr. Chairman, I want to thank you for the leadership you have given this bank. We know you paid us 35 kobo, but Mr. Chairman, people say, why should Tony do this? It's not Tony. It's Kennedy. You know why, Mr. Chairman? 2 years ago, you were telling him at the AGM that he should beef up our dividend to 1 naira. What did he say? He said, well, I need to strengthen the business. In this regard, I support him. Mr. Chairman, what you have done, we are not shareholders as traders. We are investors. And we will wait for you, Mr. Kennedy, to strengthen our business. We have enough liquidity. And in the next 2 years, if you don't pay us above 1 naira, you will see what will happen. Thank you.
No kobo kobo.
Okay. That's a special KPI. Yes.
So the GMD will respond to the issues.
Good morning, distinguished shareholders, directors, our staff, and the entire community watching us all over the world. Good morning. The reason the Q&A is going this way is because we've had very extensive engagement with investors across the globe, executive management assembled, had an analyst conference where a lot of issues were raised and we provided insights and clarifications. But it didn't end there, as some of those who spoke this morning have said. We've had very intensive engagement because as executive management, we said that in line with our governance code, we'll put everything out, whether it's good or it's bad. And even if it's bad, we'll explain why it's bad. Or if it doesn't meet the expectation of some stakeholders, we should also explain it. And that is why I've been personally berated on the issue of dividend. As we heard, Chief Farouk, again, he has given me a shareholders KPI. I didn't know shareholders could give executive management KPI. We have taken that on board. And I want to start with the dividend. Even though I've explained this over and over, but since it's a topical issue, especially given the levels we've done in the past, your bank has been in operation for 72 uninterrupted years. We must understand that. Your bank has performed over this period. And that performance is based on the extensive understanding of the landscapes that we operate in. As most of you here know very well, our business is cyclical. It goes up and it comes down. And sometimes I tell my colleagues, why is it that we don't learn? Because the same thing happens almost every 10 years. That we in UBA must make a difference. I will say we will take the learnings, especially with what happened 2020, the year under review, and try and conserve. And that's what we mean by strengthening the business. There's euphoria because vaccine is coming out, but if you also read what is happening in the past few days, it's not yet to hold. We want to continue to perform as an institution. We want to make sure that those learnings are factored into the decisions that we make. So we have not thrown money away. We have used it to prepare for unforeseen challenges, because it's only God that knows how tomorrow will be. That's what we have done. And today is the 1st of April, and indeed, the first day of Q2. So we're getting towards another Christmas day at the end of this Q quarter. We believe, Mr. Farouk and the rest of our shareholders, that given the trajectory and the resilience of our business, that we meet your expectation. I know the issue of Nigeria has come up, and I want to speak about it again. I know I have my regulators, my bosses here, so I thank them very much for being here. The Nigerian business faced a lot of headwinds, as you all know. Our bank in particular, we suffered seriously. We had average of 1.5 trillion naira of our deposits sterilized. We were paying interest on this money, and we were not getting interest. Take an average of 5% on 1.5 trillion and walk it back. That will give you a sense. So when you compare the rest of Africa and Nigeria, there was no such adverse constraint in the rest of Africa. 2, in the course of the year, we started with yields around 5.3, but as you all know, our yields dropped significantly. That was not the case in the other business. Third point also is tariffs dropped between 40 and 70% on most of our income lines. And this was just regulatory driven. And we understand, because the community must survive before your business must survive. You can't shine for too long in a sustainable manner where your operating environment is challenged. So those are some of the sacrifices that we make. And we get it and understand where the regulators are coming from. But that notwithstanding, we have taken some strategic steps. First and foremost, giving our large scale across the world. And given also that Nigeria is the biggest economy in our food, in Africa. In addition to the fact that Nigeria is the country we have operated longest amongst all our geographies. We have decided to give special focus to Nigeria by committing a deputy managing director to focus squarely on the operations of Nigeria. And that is Mr. Ayo Liadi. Can you stand up? You can sit down. Ayo, until this new appointment, ran the Lagos and Western region, and he did a good piece of work out of that. Ayo comes to cover Nigeria with the experience he has built running Lagos and West, and now extending it across Nigeria. So we believe with this intensity of focus, driven from that level of C-suite, we make a lot of difference. In addition to that, we have recalibrated the business structure, starting with Lagos. We've extended it to South-South. We have just about to announce some other geographies. The whole idea is to take our leaders to the market, rather than the typical hierarchical structure, and broken the various units to manageable size. Because there's a limit to which one person can do. So if you have 50 branches under your care, same person with 10 branches, same person, certainly the person with 10 branches will do a lot better than the other person. So we've taken all those learning in terms of what the experts tell us, span of control, risk, etc., etc. So we believe with all these things, Nigeria will give the rest of Africa a good fight, and we love to compete in UBA. So Oliver, I'm sure you're listening somewhere. Ayo has said, get ready. And you have also told Ayo to get ready. I'm sorry I'm not following any sequence, but just taking the matters. I don't want to speak so much on unclaimed dividend. I think the registers should take that on board. Now, Mr. Mosi, you raised the issue of bank charges. We're a bank, why are we supposed to charge? Okay, because of the scale of your bank, operating in multiple geographies, we go into partnerships and some kind of relationship with other organizations, financial institutions in this instance, like Correspondent Bank. So for them, we're a customer. So that's where it comes from. And in line with our disclosures, we had to break it down so that you can see where those charges are coming from. I think the point about capital base versus call-up, we have 42 billion issued shares. We'll look at that, and as a matter of fact, a lot of the points here are advisory, but consistent with our charter, it's important that we explain them. You said we should pay more, Alex, attention to the security of our staff and assets. We can't do well without our staff. They are indeed everything to us. We have put a lot of measures, health and safety, so beyond physical security, issue of health. During the pandemic, as the chairman noted, was a period where I would say I'm most proud about the capacity of United Bank for Africa. Because that was unprecedented, unplanned, and we all just fell into the period. That period was a time where our business continuity program was also tested. We even said in executive management, because we kept on meeting, we kept on adjusting the framework as different protocols are being released. And while some organizations are dealing with Nigerian protocol, or maybe 8, 9 countries, we're dealing with 23. UK will say people must not move an inch. Ghana will say go halfway. We had to comply. So we had a master position which we have to domesticate, and every week we had to review that because they were moving the goalposts as things were getting worse. We fully aligned. And let me also say that regardless of the challenge, the bank did not close. We did not only close, we did not close any of our branches. And this was not what you find in other businesses. Because we have put structures, we have put a program that ensures that if there's any incident, we can take that batch out immediately, take care of the location, and bring a new batch in. That really took most of our time. But I'm happy that we came out of it and were able to produce the kind of profit of over 18% on year-on-year basis. So the other point is what you said about ICT. I think, Timothy, thank you very much, sir. I didn't know you could still be so, erudite and eloquent. And that's a challenge for all of us coming behind you. Thank you so much for coming. The issue around IT security is a major challenge, not just for us. It is worse for financial institutions because our raw material is cash and our output is also cash. And cash is one interesting asset that whoever is in possession of the asset has the CFO, whether it's given to you to hold in trust or not. Because when you spend it, nobody is going to ask you, see your money. You will do that. And given what has happened, and I'm also very, happy about this, because the pandemic also showed that UBA has been building not only to last, but to adapt. That is why the group chairman said, we have not had this kind of close physical encounter since March. But those of you who know him know that we even met more than during the physical time. So, and it's because the bank has the infrastructure to make this happen. Both Microsoft Teams, Zoom, some people scramble to go and do this. We already had these programs in place. So we just latched in on it. And as a matter of fact, the very good side of the pandemic is that he has encouraged the so-called technology aliens or bystanders to come into the field of play now. Because even some of the video programs that we had, people were not interested. They would always say, see me. There's nobody to see now. And I'm not sure seeing me will go back to the same see me again. So the bank made those investments, and we're seeing how he has helped us to weather this, and that is why we believe there's a lot of room for some strategic investments that we're also considering at the executive management level that will continue to foster sustainable performance of the bank. I heard what you said about Leo. Leo is an incredible son of the bank, and we will continue to nurture him. So for Nora, thank you very much again, as usual. We've taken a lot of your comment. Nora engaged me. In fact, he told me after the analyst conference that he logged in. And that's the new way. We keep everything open, come in. Even competitors can come because we still have to publish it. So we're very happy with the engagement we had with you. and so many other shareholders who, unfortunately, because of the constraint, are unable to be here today. We have engaged, and I think the engagement continues. We are available for any clarification you need, and any advice you want to give us, we will take it on board. The issue of succession planning is very key. We will capture it in our reports so that you know what your bank is doing. It's not just at the executive level, it's even at a very junior level. We have a program, but for the purposes of making this account not so voluminous, because there are statutory requirements you must capture, we have had to be very brief. But maybe GCF and company secretary, going forward, when we do this, we can do some kind of appendix where people can click and see all those details. So, finally, on the rest of Africa, as I call them, because Nigeria is in Africa. 2 countries, Mozambique, that you mentioned, I think that came from Farouk. I need to talk about this. Became profitable in the last quarter of last year. So it's no longer red. However, when you do the accounts from the beginning of the year to align with the group, we still have some negatives. But the important thing is that it's now in profit. Mali started operation. We were very upbeat, but unfortunately, pandemics hit new businesses more than matured businesses. Because matured businesses have capacity to weather these shocks. New businesses, imagine somebody who has just paid rent, just bought stock, and closes that place. There's no way the person will survive. So we've had to realign, rejig, and I can say that Mali is now profitable. So they're no longer red. So, on this note, Chairman, distinguished shareholders, I don't know how to explain too much, but I think I have done a little. We just believe that executive management, we don't talk too much. We just want to do our work. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you, Chairman.
Well done. I think we'll move pretty fast now. The GMD has addressed all the issues raised by our eminent, knowledgeable, and well-informed shareholders. In fact, it's ironical or interesting. Personally, I like the quality. Today's meeting and the issues raised, the quality is wonderful. And I don't know if we should ever return to that very massive. This is very nice and all spot on. Very, very good.
Cost income ratio as well.
He didn't address it though. He said 61%. He didn't address how. GMD is promising on his behalf. He's promising that he will bring that cost income ratio down drastically. But I think all the points have been well handled. The only comment I wanted to make, about the governance issue. You all raised the point. GMB has handled the one for management board. Ladi has accountability for governance. I think sound and strong corporate governance principles, practices have been the bedrock of our success as an organization. It's something we are very serious about. We believe that is quite fundamental to our continued success, and we'll continue as a board to do everything we can to strengthen that. The point, therefore, a subset of that, the issue of the female representation on the board, we noted the issue of the female EDs also very well put. I like how he first commended the Chief Dain. We note that. Indeed, we had a board meeting yesterday, and it was a major issue at the board meeting. Some board members raised it, so it's work in progress, and I'm sure by the time we meet here next year, definitely we should have address that. Save for that, I think everything is as explained by the GMD. So let's members make progress. And now put the motion to the meeting. And the registrars kindly announce the result of the poll, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the purpose of this meeting, we received 468 proxies with a total of 17,721,657,030 units of shares, representing 50.3% of the issued share capital of UBA PLC. For the resolution to receive the audited financial statements for the year ended 31st December 2020, together with the reports of the directors, auditors, and the audit committee thereon, the result of the poll is as follows: 17,201,657,030 units, representing 100% of the votes cast by proxy voted in favor of the resolution. None of the votes cast by proxy voted against the resolution. There is no abstention. Thank you.
Thank you. Distinguished shareholders, I now declare that the motion has been duly carried. Next item is the declaration of final dividend. The directors are recommending a final dividend of 35 kobo per every ordinary share of 50 kobo to be paid to all shareholders whose names were registered in the company's register of members at the close of business on Friday, March 19, 2021. Shareholders are requested to note that an interim dividend, this addresses the final, and an interim dividend of 5,813,901,632 naira 22 kobo only, at the rate of 17 kobo per every ordinary share of 50 kobo, was paid to all shareholders on Tuesday, September 15, 2020 for the half year ended June 30, 2020. If approved, the final dividend payable will be 11,969,797,478 naira 10 kobo only, to be paid on Thursday, April 1, 2021, at the rate of 35 kobo per every ordinary share of 50 kobo to shareholders whose names appeared in the register of members at the close of business on Friday, March 19, 2021, bringing the total dividend paid for the 2020 financial year to 52 kobo per ordinary share of 50 kobo. I hereby move that a final dividend of 35 kobo gross in respect of the year ended December 31, 2020 be paid to all shareholders whose names appeared in the register of members at the close of business on Friday, March 19, 2021 be and is hereby declared. Will someone please second the motion? Sadio, thank you. I now put the motion to the meeting. Registrars kindly announce the results of the poll.
For the resolution to declare a final dividend of 35 kobo per ordinary share of 50 kobo to be paid to all shareholders whose names were registered in the company's register of members at the close of business on Friday, March 19, 2021, the result of the poll is as follows: 17,201,657,030 units of shares, representing 100% of the votes cast by proxy, voted in favor of the resolution. None of the votes cast by proxy voted against the resolution, and there is no abstention. Thank you.
Thank you. What a peaceful organization. I now declare that the motion has been duly carried. Go to next item on the agenda, the re-election of directors retiring by rotation. In accordance with Articles 97 of the Articles of Association of the Bank, at the annual general meeting, 1/3 of the non-executive directors of the bank shall retire from office. The following directors are currently retiring by rotation and offering themselves for re-election. 1, Ms. Angela Aneke, please stand. And remain standing, please. Alhaji Abdulkadir Jalil Bello, FCA. Let us see them. And Dr. Kaide Fashola. Since voting is by poll, re-election of directors shall be taken individually. So you may sit down, please. Okay. I think the first person, yes. I hereby move that Ms. Angela Aneke, a non-executive director, retiring by rotation and offering herself for re-election, be and is hereby re-elected a non-executive director of the bank. Dr. Would someone please second the motion? Dr. Farouk. Okay, thank you. I now put the motion to the meeting. Registrar, kindly announce the results of the poll.
For the resolution to re-elect Ms. Angela Aneke, a non-executive director of the bank, retiring by rotation and offering herself for re-election, the result of the poll is as follows: 16,441,400,534 units of shares, representing 95.42% of votes cast by proxy, voted in favor of the resolution. 787,256,496 units of shares, representing 4.5% of the votes cast by proxy, voted against the resolution. There is no abstention.
Okay, thank you. I now declare that the motion has been duly carried. I hereby move that Alhaji Abdulkadir J. Bello, FCA, a non-executive director, retiring by rotation and offering himself for re-election, be and is hereby re-elected a non-executive director of the bank. Would someone please second this motion? Chief Timothy, how come? Chief Timothy?
I so second, sir. I'm Chief Timothy Adesina.
Okay, thank you. I now put the motion to the meeting. Registrars, kindly announce the results of the poll.
For the resolution to re-elect Alhaji Abdulkadir J. Bello, a non-executive director of the bank, retiring by rotation and offering himself for re-election, the result of the poll is as follows: 16,414,400,534 units of shares, representing 95.42% of the votes cast by proxy, voted in favor of the resolution. 787,256,496 units of shares, representing 4.58 votes cast by proxy, voted against the resolution. There is no abstention.
I now declare that the motion has been duly carried. I hereby move that Dr. Kaide Fashola, a non-executive director, retiring by rotation and offering himself for re-election, be and is hereby re-elected a non-executive director of the bank. Will someone please second? Sir Sonny Mosu. Thank you, sir. I now put the motion to the meeting. Registrars, kindly announce the results of the poll.
For the resolution to re-elect Dr. Kaide Fashola, a non-executive director of the bank, retiring by rotation and offering himself for re-election, the result of the poll is as follows: 16,414,400,534 units of shares, representing 95.42% of the votes cast by proxy, voted in favor of the resolution. 787,256,496 units of shares, representing 4.58% of the votes cast by proxy, voted against the resolution. There is no abstention.
Okay, I now declare that the motion has been duly carried. So congratulations to our three re-elected directors. GMD was whispering to me that the same number of people did not vote for the three of you. Anyway, congrats. 95.96% is A star, star, star. Okay. Remuneration of auditors is the next item. And I know that one shareholder, I think VC said we should look at their remuneration. Anyway, I hereby move that the directors be and are hereby authorized to fix the remuneration and expenses of the directors for the year, auditors for the year ending December 31, 2021. Will someone please second the motion? Oh, the right person.
And so do Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Bakari Adebisi.
Okay, thank you. I now put the motion to the meeting. Registrars kindly announce the results of the poll.
For the resolution to authorize the directors to fix the remuneration of auditors for the 2021 financial year, the result of the poll is as follows. 17,201,467,030 units of shares, representing 100% of the votes cast by proxy, voted in favor of the resolution. None of the votes cast by proxy voted against the resolution. There is no abstention.
100%. I now declare that the motion has been duly carried. The next item on the agenda is the disclosure of the remuneration of the managers. Section 238 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020 requires that the remuneration of the managers of the company should be disclosed at the annual general meeting. May I request that you kindly refer to page 208 of the annual report for the remuneration of the managers of United Bank for Africa PLC for the year ended December 31, 2020. I will move to the next item on the agenda, which is the election of members of the Audit Committee. The directors nominated to represent the board on the Audit Committee are Mrs. Onari Duke, Non-Executive Director, Ms. Angela Aneke, Non-Executive Director, and interestingly, both of them, Mrs. Duke is the chairman of board of the committee, and Angela Aneke is the chairperson of the board governance committee. The company secretary has confirmed that a total of 3 valid nominations were received for membership of the audit committee from shareholders. The following members have been validly nominated to represent shareholders on the audit committee. 1, Dr. Fei Ogoji, shareholder. 2, Mr. Matthew Esenanjo, shareholder. And 3, Mr. Alex Adio, shareholder. As earlier stated, in accordance with the Companies and Allied Matters Act, election of shareholder representatives on the audit committees by show of hands. In view of the fact that there are 3 valid nominations from the shareholders to fill the 3 vacancies for shareholders, there shall be no need for an election. I now move, please sit down. Congratulations. I now move that pursuant to Section 404, subsections 2 and 3 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020, an audit committee be and is hereby constituted for the 2021 financial year with the following members: Dr. Feyi Ogoji, shareholder; Mr. Matthew Esenanjo, shareholder; Mr. Alex Adio, shareholder; Mrs. Onari Duke, non-executive director; and Ms. Angela Aneke, non-executive director. Will someone please second the motion? Dr. Farouk. And now put the motion to the meeting. Those in favor? Those against? Opposition is absent. I now declare that the motion has been duly carried. Congratulations to our audit committee members. As there is no other business on the agenda, I would like to thank you all on behalf of the board for attending this meeting and showing so much interest in your bank's affairs. May I call on Sir Ofime? May I call on Mrs. Duke to help us say the closing prayer? Okay. Thank you very much. National anthem, please. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. May God keep us and bring us back next year. James, and sanitize.